Welcome to this video on why business is a role model, the 7 characteristics of a caliber company. Those characteristics real quick are it's disciplined, useful, righteous, trustworthy, positive, perseverant, and protective. Now stay tuned because we're going to get into depth of each one of these characteristics, okay? Before we continue though, I do want to make sure that I help you understand that I communicate that any business you endeavor to build, anything that you desire to do, is all going to be an extension of who you are as a person, right? So you ought to be focused on developing these characteristics in yourself as a person so that you can demonstrate them towards other and build this into your company, your business culture as a reflection of who you are. Okay, so let's go back through them again. The 7 characteristics of a caliber company are disciplined, useful, righteous, trustworthy, positive, perseverant, and protective. So let's start with the first one. We're talking about discipline. So what does it mean to be disciplined? Well, discipline means doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done with excellence, even if you don't feel like doing it and nobody's watching, right? Now, it also means having the self-control to not do anything that's going to sabotage your success or that of your audience, that of your market, right? Your client base. So let's look at how what that really means. So let's say, for example, we've got two companies, right? Company A and Company B. They are the exact same companies. They have the same products. They have the same price margin. They price point. They have the same marketing, right? And let's say it's launch day for both of these companies. Now, Company A is a caliber company. Their leadership, their management shows good leadership, and it's a company that has discipline in their culture, right? Whereas Company B does not. Company B lacks self-control. So let's say it's launch day for both of these companies, right? Let's say they both launch the same day and they have thousands of orders come in. Wouldn't you love to get 1,000 orders in your first day? If you would, type in the comment below what you sell and how awesome it would be to get 1,000 sales on your launch day, right? So let's say these two companies launched the same day. They both got thousands of sales on the first day, and now they need to figure out. Now they've got to fulfill these sales, right? These purchases. So Company A, because the leadership shows this as an internal characteristic of who they are as a person, demonstrate and lead by example, saying, "Hey guys, listen. I know we've been working working hard, long hours to get this launch up and going. We finally launched. We've got thousands of orders. Let's stay after. So let's stay so we can get these orders prepped, packed, so that tomorrow, first thing in the morning, they can get shipped out, and we can make sure our clients are getting their products as soon as possible." That's demonstrating discipline, which again starts from the leadership, right? This company over here, Company B, that lacks that, they don't have self-control. So it's 5 o'clock and they say, "You know what, guys? I know we got a bunch of orders, but we've been working hard, so let's take a rest. We got loads of orders. We'll take care of them tomorrow. We'll get whatever we can out tomorrow, and then we'll just continue like that each day until we get all the orders out." Now, that's a pretty clear differentiation between a company that has the discipline to do what it needs to do to fulfill and assist and make sure that its client is getting ahead, whereas a company that does not have self-control and is more concerned with itself than its actual audience, right? So another thing that you can think of with this is that as a business, you ought to be continually growing, continually developing, continually looking for ways to improve your value offer, looking for additional ways to serve your community, the people that you serve. You should be surveying them, asking them what solutions they need, what problems they have that they need a solution for, so that you can continually add value to that customer base, right? Their Company A is focused on the people, on its relationship with the people, and contributing greater value, because they understand that the more value we give to our customers, the more value the marketplace is going to give to us, right? Company B, on the other hand, is profit-centered, it's revenue-centered. It's more worried about the company's more worried about extracting value from the marketplace without actually contributing any additional value. They focus on ways to cut corners, looking for ways to skimp on the cheapest materials. Now, obviously, you want to keep that to some mind. You want to try to minimize your costs, but that shouldn't be your priority. You shouldn't be looking a way to pinch pennies and increase your margin at the expense of your client base. That's never a good practice, right? So that's an example of a picture of what this discipline and self-control as a business represents. Now you can parallel this to, let's say you think of let's say you have a weight loss goal. Now you might be perfectly in shape and that's fine, but let's say you have a weight loss goal, whether it's 5 pounds or 50 pounds that you need to lose. There's some things that you have to discipline yourself to do, and there's some things you have to have the self-control to not do, right? So you have to have discipline to eat right, to sleep well, to work out and exercise, right? And weight loss really breaks down to basically taking in less calories than you're burning. So you have to have that discipline, but you have to have the self-control to not stay up late and get drunk and do all these things, have bad sleep habits, eat a bunch of junk food, and at its core, really, you can't take in more calories than you're burning, because then you're gonna gain weight, right? So it's very simple to see that differentiations between having that discipline, that self-control, things that you need to do when you ought to do, and things that you should not do, that you have to control yourself not to do, right? So that's an image, if you will, that you can parallel, that you can associate this principle of discipline into your company with. Okay, so that's the first one, which is discipline. So the second one is to be useful, and to be useful means to continually add value, whether both directly and indirectly, to your customer base through resources that they wouldn't have found on their own had you not shared it with them. So let's say, for example, you're in, let's just say you're in, I don't know, let's say you're an artist, right? You're an artistic coach. You teach people how to paint, how to draw, how to be artistic, right? So you teach on technique. Let's say you teach on mindset and whatnot, but you find a company that has tools. But let's say you've been using the same company for their paints or for their brushes or for their canvases because they've got really great quality products, and you really believe the company has given you as a business a great customer experience, which is really one of the main differentiations between a good company and a bad company, is that the good company is always focused on improving and giving the customer a greater experience continually, versus not caring about the customer experience so much and being concerned with just profit. So you say that you've got this company that you've been a customer of them because of their quality of products. Well, what you could do is to add value to your customer base, since you don't actually sell these products. What you can do is say, hey guys, listen, I wanted to share with you guys this really great resource for canvases, for paints, or for brushes, because it's the company that I use, because I've been using them for a long time, and they've got really high quality products. And so you share that resource with your audience base, with your client base, and that adds value in the mind of your customer base, but it also adds a goodwill in the marketplace towards your company, because they're saying, wow, this person is really helping me progress and get closer towards the goal that they desire, without without charging me anything additional, just giving me extra resources. Right now, it doesn't have to be an actual product. It could be an article. It could be a video. It could be an app that you found that helps people keep track keep track of their improvements as their artistic development, right? Now, one thing about if you're going to work with a partner with a product that has a complementary or supplementary business to yours. Again, the art, you're thinking as an art teacher, you can have a company that you work with, but it's important that you are transparent with your clients and say, okay, listen guys, I want to share this resource with you. Here's the link. I do want you to understand that link is an affiliate link, but I've become an affiliate of them because I really believe in their products. I actually use their products, and so we wanted to make sure that I share that with you, but just wanted to be transparent, right? That adds a lot of value. It adds credibility. It adds trust, right? All these things in the marketplace towards you and your company. So it's very important to share that, right? So let's say, for example, you can think of it like this also. Let's say talk about a weight gain goal right now, right? Like, let's say you want to get stronger for a competition, or you want to train for a marathon, whatever it might be. There's and someone that who also has a similar goal, or someone that that has a similar goal. And so you've come across an app that helps people track their workouts, that helps them track their training, so they can be more efficient, right? Because what doesn't get measured doesn't progress, doesn't grow. And so you share that app with your friend or whoever else is helping you, who has a similar goal as far as weight gain or training. And so what you've done is you've added value to that person's life through that app. right? And so you've been useful to them because you've provided them with additional resources to help them get to their goal without actually charging them additionally for that, right? So it's just really about just being serving that marketplace at the highest level, right? So that's the second one, which is being useful. So far we've got discipline, we've got useful, and now let's talk about the third one, which is being righteous. Now, don't get scared and don't go all crazy because I'm using the word righteous. What does righteous mean? It means to love and live in a way that loves what is right. Well, what is right? Right is everything that produces, creates, and prolongs and protects life, right? So here's what that means. You want to make sure that you can celebrate in others' victories, in your clients' progress, right? And even competitors. I don't really believe in competition because, as my mentor Myron Golden says, there's more than enough for everyone to have more than enough, and there would still be more than enough left over for everyone to accumulate, right? So that scarcity mindset it's not gonna, if you have that mindset, it's not gonna facilitate your growth and wealth. It's not gonna facilitate collaboration, which is today and age, partnerships and collaboration is the quickest way to grow your company. So if you have that scarcity mentality, you're not going to be able to reach out to people that you could partner with because you're afraid that they're going to take over. You're going to take your clients, or that they're going to be, they're going to beat you out of business or whatever. So you don't really want to have that mindset. So what it means, an example of this, or I guess an example of the opposite of this is, let me ask you this. If you think right now about your greatest competitor, who would you consider your greatest competition in whatever space you're in? Think about that for a minute. If you comment in the comments below who your greatest competitor is, right? Now I want you to think about something. If you woke up tomorrow, right, and you heard in the news that their company went bankrupt or that their business is involved in a bunch of scandals, how would you feel? Would that make you happy? Would you celebrate? Would you be like, oh, yes, man, now I can get ahead easier because my competition went out? Well, if that's your thought pattern, then you're gonna want to realign that, because that's not righteous. You don't, even though in your mind you think your competitor going down would be a benefit to you, the fact that you celebrate and that you're joyous about that speaks a lot of who you are as a person. And so if on the opposite side you say, well, you know what, man, that's too bad. I hope they get through it. I hope they get over it, or I hope the scandals aren't true. Then then you have the right will, the right heart, which is goodness towards everyone, right? And it's important that you understand that part of this is just being a person who loves good and encourages good towards yourself and towards your customer base. So let's say, for example, then you're getting into weightlifting, right? Let's say you're someone, you say you've been in it for a little while, you've gotten into a couple competitions, you've won a couple things, but there's always been that other person who's just for some reason has always been ahead of you, right? Who's always gotten a little bit further, who's always one position ahead of you. How would you feel if that person got disqualified because they were using, steroids or whatever, because they caught up in some scandal or something? Would you celebrate that, or would you be like, man, that's unfortunate? I wouldn't want that to happen to me. But what you do want is you want to be able to celebrate with people their progress, right? And more importantly than focusing on the downfall of your foe, you want to focus on the upbringing of your fans, right? Of your followers. So it's very important that you understand that being righteous just means loving and living with what's right? And what right is everything that protects, prolongs, and produces life. So and progress, right? So anything that produces progress for your customer base and for your business, you ought to celebrate it. And anything that hinders it or that causes harm, you don't celebrate. You have empathy, right, for that situation, because you wouldn't want anybody desiring wrong or ill will towards you. So that's what righteousness, right? So far we've got three. We've got disciplined, useful, and righteous. Now let's talk about being trustworthy. Being trustworthy just means being a person of your word, making sure that your words and your actions are aligned and that you're consistent, because if you're consistent with your words and your actions, then you are integral. You have integrity, and that means that you can be trusted, right? So an example, here's a picture of not being trustworthy, right? How many of you know that there are companies that sell their customers' information, data, for money. They don't care about the customer base. They just, they say, oh, well, we've got all these customer base, we've got this information, let's sell it to the market, to these advertisers, so that we can just have some extra money. And the next thing you know, you're getting hundreds of emails, you're getting bunches of calls from people that you had nothing to do with, you've never signed up at. Why? It's because the company decided to put their concentration, their focus on profits instead of the people, right? So on revenue instead of on the relationships. So they cared more about their internal revenue, their internal profits, than they did about the long-term adding value to the customer base. That's obviously a demonstration of not being trustworthy. So, but let's take a picture to see what it means to be like trustworthy, right? So let's say for instance, let's say that you've got your lead and sales system set up perfectly, right? So you've got leads being generated on a consistent basis. You've got those leads being converted into customers on a consistent basis, right? You've got those customers going up gradually over time to greater and higher value offers. And you've even got some retention offers to help keep that customer base and add stability to your company, right? So that's very predictable. It's all very structured. It operates flawlessly, right? So it's an integral system. Well, that's an example. That's a picture of what it means to be trustworthy, because you can trust that system to work, right? It's always going to work the same because you've got it designed and built in place, because the actions are consistent and they're constant and it's integral. Now, if you take a piece of that and you take, let's say you change something in the lead generation that now reduces your leads, well, that's not a good thing, right? So now everything that you change that causes a negative effect in that system takes away the integrity of that system, takes away more and more integrity of the system. So that's what it's like. If you want to be trustworthy, to demonstrate trustworthiness in the marketplace, you have to be consistent with your words and your actions. Don't do what you say you're going to do, and don't do what you say you're not going to do, right? So that's being trustworthy. Now let's talk about being protective, right? So being protective means that you as a business are looking out for the best interest and well-being of your customer base, obviously, as well as your own. But you got to keep in mind, because you understand that business and selling is the highest form of service, right? So you always, as a company, you always want to be looking for ways to look out for the well-being and the best interest of your customer base, which means, for example, a good example of this is think organic food companies. These are companies that have done research and that know that, a lot of the sicknesses and a lot of the ailments that humans suffer today is because we eat a lot of processed food, right? And and not just processed food, but genetically modified food and stuff that they add hormones into. They add these stabilizers. They add a whole bunch of extra stuff that is not natural, that has these long-term negative effects in our being, right? It causes disharmony and things along those lines, disease and so forth. So organic food companies, now there are some that aren't really, as integral as they claim to be, but for the most part, if an organic foods company has their clients' best interest in mind. Now, before all this processing and all these GMOs and stuff, it was called just food, right? So basically, the organic foods who take just the whole foods, right? The least processed foods, they made the decision to not put the profit before the person, right? To make sure that their relationship with their customer base was more important than the revenue they generated for the company. Because oftentimes these companies might operate at less margin, but they understand that the important thing is that they're looking out and they're safeguarding for their customers' best interest. And so a very important thing to note with this, you can parallel it with, is having a mentor. And having a mentor is essential in anything that you do, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever it is that you're going to do in life. And you want to have a mentor, because a mentor is someone who is already at the point where you want to get, right? So you can reach out to that mentor and you can get advice from them. And that mentor is going to have your well-being and your best interest at hand, right? So they might tell you, you know what, you say to them, well, I want to go, I'm thinking about going this route. They say, well, you know what, I tried that before and it didn't go too well. Why don't you try this alternative? Or you might say, I was thinking about doing this way, and they'll say, you know what, that's a good way to go about it. I definitely suggested. I tried that before, and it worked really well. So the mentor has the mentee's best interest and well-being in mind. Why? Because they want to help you get to where you want to go, which is where they currently are. So that's a parallel of what this being protective is, right? So the mentor is kind of protecting you from going off course, right? So, or getting harmed or unnecessary stress, right, if you will. So that's the importance of being protective as a company, to be able to protect your customers' well-being and best interest. So now let's talk about being positive. And being positive just means having a positive expectation or expecting the best from, for, and towards the community that you serve, right? So this is really a great example of this is the company Zappos. Many of you may not be familiar, and some of you probably are. Zappos.com, it started out as a women's shoe website, so that women can order shoes from their website. And when they started, and I believe they still do to this day, they offered a free shipping there and returns if you did not like your shoes, right? So that demonstrated that they were willing to trust their marketplace, which was women, because they started out as women's shoes. Now they sell clothes and a whole bunch of other stuff. But they had the trust they were demonstrating to their marketplace of the women buyers who buy shoes, that they trust them, because they're saying, listen, we won't charge you shipping to get there, and if you don't like the shoes, we won't charge you shipping for returning them. They had to trust their customers that they weren't going to abuse that and put the shoes on, wear the shoes, and then try to ship them back for free to get some new shoes or change them out, right? But then it also showed their customer base had to trust them, because they were trying on the shoes without trying. They were buying the shoes without trying them on, without actually going to an actual physical store and seeing them. So it demonstrated to their audience that they were trusting them, that they trusted that they wouldn't take advantage of their return and their no shipping, free shipping there and back. So that's a very important example of that. And so a very important parallel or principle here that we can extract from that is the power of expectation, right? Expectation and experience. Now, it's always best to expect the best, right? You prepare for the worst, but you expect the best, because while you may not always get what you expect, you have a greater chance of getting what you want if you expect the result that you want versus if you don't. So let me make that more concrete, right? So if you expect someone to, let's say if you expect to, let's say that you expect to make a sale, right? Or let's say you're in a selling environment. You expect to make a sale. Well, even if it's more likely that you're going to make the sale just because you expect to make the sale, which is going to cause you to act in a way that's to improve the likeliness or probability of that sale being made, versus if you go in with the expectation that this person is not going to buy it. Well, if you go in with that expectation, then your whole body language, your whole energy is going to communicate to the person, yeah, I don't really think you're going to buy, which is going to put the person at kind of like uneasiness, right? And so they're going to be like, something feels weird about this, and they're probably not going to buy, right? Whereas if you had the expectation that they were going to buy, they are much more likely to actually fulfill your expectation and make the purchase, because expectation, like my mentor Myron Golden says, is mankind's strongest superpower. Because when we see an expectation, right, an expectation is the fulfillment is the vision of a positive. So expectation is what we want to happen, right, and having the feeling of that desire fulfilled, right. That's the expectation we want to have. We can have, but it also has the opposite. You can expect the worst out of things, but there is no practical value in that, right? So it's very important to manage your expectations and understand that what you expect is what you get, right? What you focus on is what you create. So you want to make sure that you have a positive expectation for your company, for the people you work with, and for all of your customer base. You want to expect the best for them, from them, and towards them, right? So that's very, very important. And then lastly, what we're talking about The final characteristic of a caliber company is perseverance. And perseverance is it means pushing on through despite the obstacles, right? And an example of this is, let's say, blockchain, right? And like, we know that there's going to be problems and there's going to be obstacles and there's going to be challenges in our progress towards the goal that we want to achieve. So having that perseverance means the obstacles are gonna come, but you're gonna persevere through them and go either go over top of them, around them, underneath them, or straight through them. But you're not gonna stop your path. You're not gonna change. You're not gonna stop your progress because of an obstacle, right? So an example of this is blockchain technology. So blockchain technology, you may be familiar with it, you may not. Maybe you've heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not blockchain, but Bitcoin runs on blockchain, right? So blockchain basically just means instead of having all of the information on a single centralized computer, it's spread out on a network of computer, which that network of computers is normally the users of that network, right? Of that technology. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that runs on blockchain. There's thousands of cryptocurrencies, but that's not what this video is about. Blockchain technology itself has been in the market for about, I think, maybe over 2 decades now. It's gotten more mass adoption recently in the past few years than previously. Basically because, and with all of its growth, it's experienced challenges because, it was involved. People were using it, wrongfully for wrong things. There was, once it got to a point, it had to be, regulated and so forth. And even within its own developers, there were splits that occurred. And so these are different challenges that the blockchain industry as a whole had to face and plow through, right? They had to really find a way to continue on their path while navigating those obstacles. So it's a great example of perseverance, because now the blockchain industry is much more widely accepted, and it's a technology that's really looking forward. It's really forward advancing. And so the metaphor that I like to use to kind of paint the picture of perseverance is, let's say, for example, we hop in a car and we're going to go on a road trip to Montana or something, right? Go see Mount Rushmore, or go to the Ozark Mountains, right? Well, on our way there, we're driving, we're cruising, we're on the highway, and then all of a sudden, a boulder gets into the middle of the road. Well, what are we gonna do? Are you gonna stop and be like, oh, guess we can't continue our road trip, we got a boulder in the middle of the road, let's turn back and go home? No, that's not what you're gonna do, especially if you've already been driving for several hundred miles, right? That's not what you're gonna do. What you're gonna do is you're gonna look for alternate routes that you can get around the boulder and continue your journey, right? Continue your path towards your destination. And that's exactly the perfect image of perseverance, right? Because there's going to be problems, but you have to decide that getting to your destination is more important than allowing the obstacle that's in your face right now to demotivate you and to kick you off course. So those are the 7 characteristics of a caliber company. Go ahead and let me know what you think about those. Which is your favorite characteristic? Which do you most identify with? Or which do you need to develop more? Also, go ahead and comment, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because we're gonna be sharing a lot more content. So again, the 7 characteristics of a caliber company are disciplined, useful, righteous, transparent, protective, positive, and persevering. And with that said, guys, I'll see you on the next video.